every sign's strongest stars today, and the one stretch that suits routine work rather than fresh starts are coming in this reading. A warm welcome to your daily sky for August 4th. These readings follow the Western tropical sky, and your reading is read from your sun sign with houses counted from it. The moon is waning gibbous and moving through Aries, so initiative comes quickly to you. Times are New York time. The moon squares Mercury exactly at 10:16 in the morning, which favors slowing down and rereading before you send. The moon sextiles Mars at 2:51 in the afternoon, a good window for physical, decisive effort. From 2:51 in the afternoon to 10:35 at night, the moon rests in a quiet pause, a stretch that supports tidying, finishing, and routine work rather than launching something new. The sun is in Leo and enters Virgo in 18 days. Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto are retrograde, favoring review over rush. Readings today are from your sun sign. The link below finds yours in 10 seconds. Aries, today favors saying the true thing early, while your nerve is still warmer than your second guessing. Yesterday, the moon opened in your first house of self, vitality, and how you come across. So you likely felt unusually visible, your mood written plainly on your face. That continues. The moon is in Aries in that same first house, which means how you carry yourself is doing a lot of your talking at work. Mars, your ruler, sits in your third house of communication and daily effort, and courage does reach you before caution does. Use it well. Draft the message. Ask the direct question. Around 10:16 in the morning, the moon squares Mercury, so a conversation may land more sharply than you intended. If that happens, Aries, the repair is simple. Restate what you meant plainly rather than defending how it sounded. By 2:51 in the afternoon, the moon sextiles Mars, and that is your easier window for warmth and physical energy, a good time to move your body or finish what stalled. The day opens loud and settles honest. Let the settling include a call to someone who has been alone lately, asked for nothing, offered simply because they are worth the minutes. Let today be simple. That is enough. Taurus, today favors quiet consolidation over any push for visible progress, and that suits you well. Yesterday, the moon already opened in your 12th house of rest, retreat, and letting go, so some of that inward pull is familiar by now. The sun and Jupiter both move through Leo in your 4th house of home and roots, which means the strongest work you can do today happens close to base. Tidy the finances at your own table and let one household matter get settled properly. Mars, your period lord, sits in Gemini in your 2nd house of earned resources. So a slow, careful look at what you spend serves you better than a bold move. Taurus, you are ruled by Venus. You build slowly and you build things that hold, and that is exactly the strength today asks for. In relationships, say less and listen longer. Mercury in Cancer in your 3rd house of conversation supports gentle, honest wording. For energy, protect your sleep and take the softer pace. The 12th house is already suggesting that quiet you began yesterday now has somewhere to land. Somewhere today, give up your seat, your place in a queue, or an unhurried half hour to someone who needs it more than you do, and expect nothing back. May something small go beautifully right for you today. Gemini, your words travel further than usual today, so say the thing you have been rehearsing. Yesterday already had this quality. The moon was moving through your 11th house of gains, friends and wider networks, and conversation was doing quiet work on your behalf. On the work and money side, the Sun and Jupiter are both in Leo in your third house of speech, learning and short exchanges, which favors pitching, writing and explaining. Send the message, make the call, put the idea into plain language. Mars, your period lord, sits in Gemini in your first house, so the initiative reads as yours, Gemini, not borrowed. In relationships, the moon in your 11th house meets Mars by sextile exact at 2:51 in the afternoon, and that is a good window for reaching out to a friend or group you have drifted from. Mercury rules you, and it shows curiosity moves you, and connecting with people costs you almost nothing. For energy, keep the afternoon uncluttered rather than stacking it, since first house transits can make you start more than you finish. The reach you felt building yesterday is simply available today. Let your closing act of care be teaching. Sit with someone stuck on something you find easy and show them slowly, expecting nothing back. Carry this lightly and have a truly good day. Cancer, today rewards you for being the steady one whose work quietly speaks before you do. Since yesterday's turn toward what you earn and hold, you have likely been weighing your worth in fairly concrete terms. The moon now moves through Aries in your 10th house of career and public standing, so how you carry yourself in front of others is unusually visible. Keep your commitments modest and finish what you start. Around 10:16 in the morning, Mercury in your own sign meets a sharper angle with the moon, and words may come out edged. So read the message twice before sending. Cancer, ruled by the moon, you sense the temperature of a room before anyone names it. And that instinct is your real advantage in any conversation today. With your period lord in Gemini, quiet hours behind the scenes suit you better than loud ones. And rest is not a luxury, but the maintenance that keeps your reading of others accurate. Let the day settle where it began, in the honest measure of what you have built. If something useful sits unused in your home, a tool, a coat, a book, pass it to someone who needs it now, and let that be the whole of it. The day is yours to shape. Shape it kindly. Leo, today the sky sits right on top of you, and the warmth you carry does more work than anything you could argue for. Yesterday the moon opened in your 9th house of belief, learning and long journeys, so you may have spent it thinking in wide circles rather than settling anything. For work and money, Mars, your period lord, moves through Gemini in your 11th house of networks and gains, so a conversation with a group, a colleague, a loose circle is where the useful opening lives. Say what you are working on out loud to them today. Leo, the sun rules you and stands in your own first house with Jupiter beside it, which is why warmth tends to arrive ahead of you before you have spoken a word. In relationships, that means people meet you already softened. You do not need to perform. For energy, the moon in your 9th house favors learning something slowly rather than pushing hard. So give yourself a longer, quieter evening. That wide circling day settles into something simple now. Say the encouraging word you have been meaning to say to someone without waiting to be asked, and let it be complete in itself. Your free full chart is on the website whenever you want the fuller picture. Move through today at your own pace. It is the right one. Virgo, today ask less of your list and more of your attention, and that trade is worth making. Yesterday already turned you toward what you share and what quietly changes underneath. So a certain thoughtfulness has been sitting with you. Mars, your period lord, sits in Gemini in your 10th house of work and public standing. So your visible efforts are moving even while your inner mood stays private. Choose one task that matters and finish it well rather than three half finished ones. Mercury rules you, Virgo, and precision is simply how your mind is built, though care is the form your service usually takes. In relationships, Venus moves through your own sign, your first house of self and presentation, in a quieter state than usual. So let people meet you plainly today. You do not need to perform ease you are not feeling. For energy, the moon in Aries in your 8th house of shared resources and deep change favors rest over intensity, and a slower evening will serve you better than one more effort. The day that began, turned inward, settles best if you let it stay inward. Somewhere along the way, handle a small chore no one assigned to you without mentioning it, and let the doing of it be the whole of it. May the day meet you kindly and leave you a little lighter. Libra, today favors the quiet strength you already carry into every room, the ability to hold two sides steady without losing yourself. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house of partnership and close alliances, so you likely felt the pull of other people's needs sitting close to your own. Today, the moon still moves through that 7th house, and in work and money matters, that means agreements go better when spoken aloud rather than assumed. Take one shared arrangement and say you're part of it plainly. Mercury in your 10th house of career supports a clear, unhurried message to whoever oversees your work. In relationships, Libra, Venus rules you and you find the balance point in almost any room, though Venus is debilitated in your 12th house today, which simply asks you to rest before you referee. Let the closeness be simple, less negotiating, more listening. For energy, Mars, your period lord, stands in Gemini in your 9th house of wider learning and perspective, so a short walk with a broader thought does more for you than pushing harder. The arc lands where it began, in partnership, gently. Thank someone whose work is usually passed over without notice, and let that thanks be complete in itself. Whatever today asks of you, you have met harder days than this. Scorpio, today favors quiet depth over visible push, and the steadiest gains come from tending the ordinary machinery of your days. Yesterday already asked you to look at daily work, health and routine, and it likely felt like a long list that kept refilling itself. The moon stays in that same 6th territory of routine and upkeep now, with debilitated retrograde, Saturn and Neptune sharing that ground, so precision matters more than pace. Pick the one task that has been quietly slipping and finish it cleanly today. Mars, your ruler and today's period lord, sits in Gemini in your 8th house of shared resources and hidden things, which is why joint money, other people's expectations, and unsaid feelings feel close to the surface. Scorpio, you go deep where others skim, and your resilience is easy to underestimate. So, in close relationships, let one honest question replace 3 guesses. With Venus debilitated in your 11th house of friendships and hopes, keep social plans small and warm rather than wide. Energy wants a gentler rhythm than your ambition suggests. So protect sleep and food before you protect the schedule. The day settles where it began, in the small, repeated care of ordinary things. If someone you know is unwell, sit with them a while and let them set the pace. Let today be useful rather than perfect. Sagittarius, today favors honest making over polished finishing, and that suits you exactly. Yesterday already had the moon warming your 5th house of creativity, romance and children, so the pull towards something playful has been with you since then. In work and money, Venus moves through Virgo in a weakened state in your house of career and public reputation, which means polish may feel harder to reach than usual. Put your effort into the substance of the work and let the presentation settle later in the day. Mars, your period lord, moves through Gemini in the house of partnership and one-to-one dealings, and that is where your day quietly turns. Sagittarius, this is where the promise lands. A conversation with one person, not a crowd, is the good window today. Because you are ruled by Jupiter and the honest search matters to you more than arriving anywhere in particular. For energy, the Sun and Jupiter both light Leo in your ninth house of meaning and travel, which supports open air, long walks, and unhurried thinking rather than a packed schedule. So the day begins in play and settles in honest company. If you can, share a meal with someone who is hungry, asking nothing at all in return. Walk gently today and let the day come to you. Capricorn, today favors a quiet return to your own ground, and that is where the day's real work gets done. Yesterday already pulled you toward home and your inner ground, and you likely felt that turn inward more than you showed it. With Mars, your period lord today, moving through Gemini in your sixth house of daily work and routines, your energy goes furthest in small maintenance tasks rather than grand moves. Handle the one item you keep rescheduling, and the rest of the week loosens. Mercury sits in Cancer in your seventh house of partnership and close agreements. Capricorn, which makes this a good window for saying the plain thing to the person across from you and listening longer than feels comfortable. That patience is not something you force. You are ruled by Saturn and you play the long game by nature, not by discipline. With the moon in Aries in your fourth house of home and family, rest is best taken at home today. With an early, unhurried evening, the day that began by asking you to look beneath the surface settles simply, close to your own roof. Before dark, set out a little water or food for the birds or a stray animal, expecting nothing at all in return. May today bring you one moment worth remembering. Aquarius, today favors the honest conversation you have been circling because someone across the table is finally ready to meet you halfway. Yesterday, the moon was already moving through your third house of courage, siblings and short journeys, so the day likely asked you to speak up in small, ordinary ways. In work and money, the Sun sits in its own sign, Leo, in your seventh house of partnership, with Jupiter beside it, which supports agreements made face to face rather than by message. Take one conversation of text today and see what opens. Aquarius, you are ruled by Saturn, and you think from an angle nobody else tried, so your value in that partnership house is the framing others missed. Relationally, Mars, your period lord, moves through Gemini in your fifth house of creativity and joy, so lightness works better than argument. For energy, the moon in your third house favors short walks and errands over long stretches at the desk. That is the payoff of speaking plainly. The halfway meeting you sensed becomes real. Let today's small act of care be this. When someone speaks to you, give them your whole unhurried attention. No clock, no reply forming, nothing asked in return. Go easy on yourself today. The stars are patient, and you can be too. Pisces, today favors quiet clarity about what you actually value, and that clarity is easier to reach than usual. Yesterday, the moon opened in your second house of money, possessions, and what you hold dear, so questions of worth were likely already humming in the background. The moon moves through that same second house today, which makes this a good window to look plainly at one number, one subscription, one small commitment, and decide whether it still deserves you. With the sun in its own sign, Leo lighting your 6th house of daily work and routines, and Jupiter there beside it, steady effort is supported more than dramatic gestures. In relationships, Venus sits debilitated in Virgo in your house of one-to-one partnership, so warmth may arrive a little clipped or overly practical today. Say the softer sentence instead of the efficient one. Jupiter rules your sign, Pisces, and compassion moves you first while imagination reaches where analysis cannot. For energy, Mars in Gemini as your period lord keeps the mind busy, so protect one unhurried hour at home. The day settles where it began, in what you value. Let that show as help carry a load, literal or practical, for someone who is struggling, asking nothing back. Wishing you a calm and steady day ahead. Wherever this day finds you, may it move at a pace you can meet, with steady work, honest company, and enough quiet to hear yourself think. Take the guidance lightly and the practice seriously. The sky sets the weather, and you still choose how you walk through it. If something today asks for patience, give it patience. If someone near you is carrying more than they can hold, offer a hand or simply your full attention, asking nothing back. If today's sky was useful, subscribing keeps it coming every morning.